Hello, Wellspring. I am still in North Carolina at the Billy Graham Training Institute at the Cove. It's been an awesome first couple days. We got a couple days left to go. Awesome opportunities to lead worship and to minister to and pray over and pray with and just uh, share stories with people who are being the hands and feet of Jesus all across the world. It's been a beautiful couple days so far. I'm excited about what God is doing and excited about what He's continuing to do. Thank you for your prayers of support while we're here ministering to these people and for your prayers of support for me. God is definitely speaking to me and challenging my heart. There's some really unique things that I think He's saying to me that I'm starting to write down into journal. Some of them may come out eventually from the pulpit at Wellspring, and some of them may be just for me to hold on to, for the Lord to shape and mold my heart in the unique way that He does with each of us as we each have a personal journey. Uh, but with that in mind, we're going to continue on with our reading. We are in Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, and we're moving into Proverbs chapter 2, and I'll be reading from the NIV. So without further ado, let's get into the word. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom from his mouth. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless. For he guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. Then you will understand what is right and just and fair, every good path. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will be pleasant to your soul. Discretion will protect you, and understanding will guard you. Wisdom will save you from the ways of the wicked, from men whose words are perverse, who have left the straight paths to walk in dark ways, who delight in doing wrong and rejoice in the perverseness of evil, whose paths are crooked, and who are devious in their ways. Wisdom will save you also from the adulterous woman, from the wayward woman and her seductive ways, who has left the partner of her youth and ignored the covenant she made before God. Surely her house leads down to death, and her paths to the spirits of the dead. None who go to her return or attain the paths of life. Thus you will walk in the ways of the good and keep to the paths of the righteous. For the upright will live in the land, and the blameless will remain in it. But the wicked will be cut off from the land, and the unfaithful will be torn from it. So here again, we're reminded in chapter 2, almost as a father speaking to a son, to avoid the ways of wickedness, to continue to pursue wisdom, to pursue God, to allow the fear of the Lord to become all-encompassing, for us to recognize fully and completely we're not the ones in control, we're not the ones in authority, but we are loved by the one who is. We are sustained by the God of the universe. And so we fear the Lord in the sense of he has all power and authority, but we also move into intimacy with him as he reveals himself to us, as he reveals his path, as he teaches us, as he reveals his love, and we gain wisdom. And that wisdom helps us to avoid some of the destructive paths that are mentioned here in this passage. So none of these chapters in Proverbs are super long. And a little bit like the book of Job, this is again an Eastern way of thinking. So some of these things are going to pile on and pile on and pile on in a way that is for us not to just learn a fact, the fear of the Lord's beginning of wisdom, right? But instead to know the fact, to experience this idea, to experience the wisdom that's being written in Proverbs. And so we're going to get some repetition as we go through these chapters. We're going to get some places where it feels like, okay, I've heard this, but it's said a little differently. And the language applies it slightly differently. And remember, as we apply it to our lives, as we hear it in all these different ways, if that way doesn't necessarily speak directly to you, there may be someone else that's listening or reading along, and they hear it and they're like, wow, that impacts me. And then another way that doesn't impact them, it's going to deeply impact you. And so we get all of these different angles of looking at or experiencing or learning the same truths, but it becomes this weight where instead of just knowing a fact, we know it with all of our being. We know it with our heart, with our soul, with our mind, and with our strength. And again, we're hearing today the beginning of wisdom, the beginning of us finding wisdom, being people who choose wise and discerning paths, is the fear of the Lord. And if we understand that, not just from an intellectual point, but the full knowing, like really experiencing, knowing in our souls, in the depths of our bodies, in our hearts, that we need to begin with the fear of the Lord. It begins to really sink in and transform everything. And then we approach everything differently. And then the application of the fear of the Lord happens to be applied to our lives, and we see how that begins to manifest and work itself out in our relationships, in the ways we interact with people, in the ways that we see people, the compassion we have for people on the other side of us. And remember, Pastor Jerry last week was talking about becoming unoffendable. Uh, you want to be unoffendable, you need the wisdom of the Lord, because in our human reactions, in our human wisdom, in our human justice, if we start thinking about, well, that's not fair, or that's not the way I would do it, all of a sudden it's easy for us to be offended. But if we have a proper fear of the Lord and recognize God is the one who directs paths, who does all of these things, who appoints times and spaces and leads us down our path, then all of a sudden, when something comes up that we might naturally or humanly want to give a offense to or be offended by, all of a sudden we remember, no, God's ways are beyond ours. What can I learn from God in this? What can God teach me? How can I be gracious and compassionate in this space where normally I'd want to be offended, right? And so we start to apply the fear of the Lord to our lives because we're experiencing it, not just learning it as a fact, but experiencing it deep inside. And it begins to transform everything. And we start moving into that space of becoming a person who's unoffendable, like Pastor Jerry was talking about. So, well, Wellspring, dig in. Continue to reread these passages, especially here in Proverbs. There is a number of ways to glean this wisdom, to hear it, to receive it, for it to be piled on, for us to experience the weight of it. Let it rest on you heavy. Let it sit on you. Drink deep of these couplets and these phrases that are strung together. Allow Proverbs to speak to you as if you are the child, as if you are the son or the daughter who is hearing from a caring, loving father who says, I want you to fear the Lord. I want you to have wisdom. I want you to avoid the adulterous woman or the wicked paths or the mockers, right? Let it sink into you as if your Father in heaven is speaking to you as you are his daughter and you are his son. Just let it permeate your soul. Let it surround you, and let the wisdom of God and the fear of the Lord rest on you today. God bless you, Wellspring. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.